We're
live.
We're live?
Yep.
Okay, good, thank you, and good evening. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of the Wellington Shire Council on Tuesday, the 20th of July 2021. I apologise for the delay in starting the meeting, but unfortunately we had a little bit of minor technical difficulty, and thank you very much to the IT staff for resolving that issue for us. So we need to start the meeting with a roll call because, of course, we're meeting remotely. So if I call your name, could you just confirm that you can see me and hear me? Councillor Boy.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Crosley.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Marr.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Ripper.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Rossetti.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Councillor Tatterson.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
And Councillor Wood.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, councillors. Firstly, the council meeting information. Of course, as we are in another COVID-19 lockdown, the Minister's Good Practice Guideline MGPG-1 virtual meetings issued by the Minister for Local Government will apply to this meeting. Pursuant to Section 87 of the Local Government Act 2020, these guidelines ensure that local government decision making can continue in line with COVID-19 restrictions, and further details can be found on the Local Government Victoria website. These guidelines took effect from the 1st of May 2020 and will remain in place through to the 26th of April 2022. While members of the public cannot attend this meeting in person, we have provided options for you to interact with us virtually via our council meetings page on the Wellington Shire Council website. You are able to interact with council in two ways. Email a specific question or comment relating to a particular council agenda item no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the council meeting, or for general questions to council via the online web form early in this meeting to ensure that your questions can be dealt with at the end of this meeting. While we maintain a virtual way of gathering, we thank you for your ongoing support. Next is acknowledgement of country, and we acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai Kurnai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Now the prayer. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council as councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. So the first matter, apologies. We have received apologies from Councillor Mackenzie and also the Chief Executive Officer, David Morecambe. And I welcome our Acting Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Chris Hastie. Declaration of conflicts of interest. I don't believe there are any declared for tonight's meeting. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting held on the,
6th of July.
6th of July, thank you very much. Councillor, is that you, Councillor Wood?
Yes. I move to adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 6th of July 2021.
Happy to second, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Is there any opposition to that recommendation being adopted? If not, I'll declare it carried. Any comment, Councillor Wood?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wood. The next agenda item is business arising. There is no business arising that I'm aware of. Next item is acceptance of late and urgent items. There are nil for this evening's meeting. Next, we have notices of motion. There are no current notices of motion for this meeting. Now, item 7, Receiving of petitions or joint letters. Item 7.2.
Happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Boy.
Councillor Boyd, so please proceed, Councillor Boyd.
I move that Council receive the attached petition in relation to objection to trees planted at Andrews Road and Cumming Drive in Longford.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'm happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you.
Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Boyd.
Thanks, Mayor. That's receipt of a petition which we will reply in due course.
Yeah, thank you. That'll be dealt with in the normal process for council. Thanks, Councillor Boyd. Item 7.3 is a petition that has been previously tabled.
Councillor Ripper will move that, Mayor.
Please proceed, Councillor Ripper.
Thank you. I move that in response to the petition presented at the Ordinary Council meeting of the 15th of June 2021, Council 1, decline the request for the removal of the 5 trees from the Boisdale Street Road Reserve in Maffra, opposite Hillcrest Avenue. 2, accept the request to grub 2 tree stumps from the Boisdale Street Road Reserve in Maffra, opposite Hillcrest Avenue. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to write to the head petitioner to advise them of Council's decision in relation to this matter.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, if not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. Your council does not provide any formal assistance with bus stops used by charter school buses. Council officers are not involved in or engaged with any approval process for a bus stop used by the chartered school bus service, and likewise PTV has no responsibility for the provision of this service. The bus stop arrangements and their locations are made directly between the bus company and the school itself. However, initial investigations undertaken by council officers has determined that the removal of the trees requires a planning permit. Furthermore, to the request of the removal of the small trees is not supported by council's current position to sustainability and urban forest outcomes. The removal of native vegetation to accommodate the operation of a school bus stop is not undertaken by council unless it is within clear zone for the edge of the traffic lane. But as you'll see, council has accepted the request to grub 2 tree stumps from the Boisdale Street Road Reserve. Thanks, Mayor.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. Next agenda item, invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. We have none this evening. Next item, questions on notice. There are none this evening. The next item is the Mayor and Councillors' report.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Crossley.
Please proceed, Councillor Crossley.
I move that the Mayor and Councillors' report be noted.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that?
I'm happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. I just firstly like to acknowledge, and certainly many of the items on the list of the activities of the Mayor and Councillors was certainly related to the storm event. And I'd like to acknowledge that there are many community members that are still struggling with the result of that event, whether it's access to their properties or trees down, damage to their facilities, and certainly the financial and emotional impact of that period, which ended up being longer than a week for people, to certainly down in the Yarram area and up in the hills around Gormandale and so forth, without power. So a significant impact on those communities. So just like to say that also the way that the communities rallied together, and certainly Councillors Mayor Stevens and Councillor Mackenzie and myself experienced that when we visited the various community barbecues that were had at Woodside, Devon North, Gormandale and Bington Warren. It was really amazing to see how the various communities and neighbourhood houses came together to show support and give succour to their community, and also congratulate the services and the food that was hot food and facilities that were opened up, the council facilities that were opened up for the various communities without power, in that what was a freezing conditions, as Councillor Stevens, you can attest, Mayor Stevens, you can attest over that period. And also to thank Ms Jane Garrett MP for coming down to Yarram and having a briefing with the Mayor and the community to actually see how everybody was doing. So that was also a really good outcome. I think the other thing about that storm event, which sort of impacts on our various plans and programs, was that when we had the meeting for the business boost, and that councillors attend, and also the Living Well during COVID, was how these multiple impacts and events have. I know the business boost started as a response to drought and fire, that then has moved into coping with the pandemic, and the same with Living Well with the with COVID-19. It also showed when we were developing the infographic from the community feedback from our plan, that events like the storm event has an impact on how we can respond in those circumstances. So it really shows how interrelated and how much impact these what seem to be separate events but compounds onto our community. So these various meetings and conversations and meetings with our community are a very important part of the role of councillors and our mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Crosley. I'd just like to very briefly add the fact that the community resilience in the face of that serious East Coast rainfall event was really outstanding, and the way people showed resilience and came together to help one another. And Councillor Maher and I were actually on an online meeting with staff yesterday afternoon, and I'd just like to acknowledge the contribution of our staff, because staff went above and beyond to volunteer for emergency services shifts. And so I'd just like, Mr CEO, Acting CEO, if you could just make sure to pass on to the staff the thanks of the council and the community for the work done by our staff over and above their normal efforts to support the community. So thank you.
If Councillor Crosley is moving that her delegates report be accepted, I'm happy to second it.
And Councillor Crosley's going to do that, yes. So are you moving that, Councillor Crosley? Oh no, hang on. What are we up to?
I believe I did that at the beginning.
You threw me out of kilter there, Councillor Rossetti. Hang on. I'm completely lost. Where am I?
I believe I did that at the beginning of the.
You're doing. We're moving on now to delegates reports. Yes. Councillor Crosley, you've got a delegates report.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor Stevens. Yes, I'm the delegate on the Gippsland Climate Change Network, which is a Gippsland-wide not-for-profit registered charity focused on connecting and collaborating with local communities, businesses and government organisations around climate change and awareness and solutions. So that's why I'm very pleased that, in line with that vision for that organisation, that I've got two programs to announce that Gippsland Climate Change Network, which I call GCCN from now on, was successful in receiving in the announcement last week from the Honourable Lily D'Ambrosio, the Minister for Energy, Environment and Climate Change, that GCCN with its partners Energy Innovation Cooperative and Malakuta Sustainable Energy Group were one of the 7 communities organisations to have funds for the new Community Power Hub. So this is the Gippsland Community Power Hub, which is following on the success of what was called the Latrobe Community Power Hub, which GCCN was the host organisation over 2017 to 2020. So since then, we've been working closely with our communities to develop various programs and projects with renewable energy to enable the transition to a low carbon and clean energy future. And part of this awarding of this project, which is statewide a $3.73 million program, that we have 8 out of the 16 shovel-ready projects will be rolled out in Gippsland, spreading from Hayfield to Mallacoota, Neerim South, Venus Bay and Lucknow. So you can see it's a broad-ranging project, and these will be rolled out over the next few months, and we've basically got a year to complete these projects, but working closely with our community to develop more and to assist business and our community to transition, which will ultimately lead to reduced greenhouse gas emissions. And it's certainly something that is a priority in our community plan that's out for comment at the moment. The other project that I'm really pleased to announce that GCCN has been contracted by Sustainability Victoria to be an intermediary assistance to our local small businesses to assist them in accessing the Small Business Energy Savings Program. There's a fair bit of paperwork and understanding of this program, so we've been contracted to employ people to actually knock on doors to assist people, small businesses of under 20 employees, to access what is up to a $2,000 to actually support changing over some of their equipment. So it could be old fridges, old dryers, display cabinets, things that are chewing up and creating a heavy electricity burden on their bottom line, but also creating a heavy burden of CO2 emissions. So this is a great program that'll not only help reduce costs and make our small businesses more viable, but also will reduce our carbon footprint in our communities. So 2 very exciting programs.
Excellent. Thank you.
Now I move
Yes.
that the Delegates Report to GCCN be noted.
Thank you very
I'm happy
much.
to second that, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rossetti. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. And thank you again for your report, Councillor Crosley. Moving on, the next item is the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Bye.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Bye. Any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Rossetti?
I'm happy to leave that sit, Mayor.
Thank you very much. The next item, items 12.2, is the report from the Victorian Electoral Commission on the 2020 local government election in the Wellington Shire.
I'm happy to move that.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Crosby. Please proceed.
I move that Council receive the attached report provided by the Victorian Electoral Commission on the Wellington Shire Council 2020 local government election.
Thank you, Councillor Crosby. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to move. Second that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of the recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Crosley.
Just a brief note, Mayor, this is in accordance of the section of 263 of the Local Government Act 2020, and basically it's not riveting reading, but it's the full circle of the democratic process of the election. It just was interesting to note that the Victoria Electoral Commission reported that in Wellington it was 80.76% of those able to vote actually did vote. This was not, it was a bit lower than the state average, but it was it's higher than the 2016, which was only 73.3% were engaged in the vote. So I think it's a good thing that we have mandatory voting. It gets good engagement. It's a responsibility of the democratic process for us all to do this. And I believe there will be fines rolled out for those that fail to do their voting and do their civic duty. But it's just, this is just a completion of that circle. It's not really bedtime reading.
No.
Thank you.
A boring electoral report is a good report, Councillor Crosley, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Moving on to item 13, Assembly of Councillors.
Happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Boy.
Thank you very much. Please proceed, Councillor Boy.
I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 28th of June 21 to the 11th of July 21.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, if not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Boy?
Happy with that, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Hang on, move down one more second, sorry, just bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so the next item is 13.2, consideration of the reviewed mayoral and councillor allowances for adoption.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor. Councillor Marr.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Marr.
I move that Council 1 formally adopt the reviewed mayoral and councillor allowances. Councillors $26,245 and the Mayor $81,204 until the Victorian Independent Remuneration Tribunal makes its first determination, and 2, resolve to forward a copy of the submission received to the Victorian Independent Remuneration Tribunal.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Happy to second, Mayor.
Councillor Crosley beat you by a short half hand, Mr. Councillor Rossetti. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? If not, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Under the new Local Government Act of 2020, there's a transfer of responsibility to the Victorian Independent Remuneration Tribunal, who are yet to make a determination on councillor allowances. Therefore, under the old LGA Local Government Act, the responsibility still rests with council. So a submission was received recommending a higher remuneration be paid to councillors, and a copy of that will be forwarded to the tribunal for their further consideration. Wellington Shire is deemed a Category 2, along with 28 other councils around the state. What's important is that local government provides an opportunity for all to participate, allowing for diversity around the table. And it's also needed to allow for a reasonable balance for councillors between their obligations and commitments as councillors, as well as the balance of their work and personal lives. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Moving on, the next item on the agenda, item 14.1, is the Boggy Creek Road Longford Special Charge Scheme Final Cost Certificate.
Councillor Boy is happy to move that, Mayor.
Please proceed, Councillor Boy.
I move that 1, Council adopts the final cost certificate of the Boggy Creek Road Special Charge Street Construction Scheme, Scheme number 1901, and 2, Council officers prepare the final apportionment amounts due from property owners for the Boggy Creek Road Special Charge Street Construction Scheme, Scheme number 1901, based on the total levy amount of $115,308.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Tatterson. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Boy.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a great road that has been transformed from an old gravel road. It's now been formed and sealed. I had the pleasure to drive down that road last week, actually, and it's a great improvement. Now my car doesn't get all dirty and dusty. It's on a nice sealed road. And we did it for a cost for each resident of $3,600 per property. So it's a great result for the community.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Boggy. The next item 14.2, is the Lloyd Street North Stratford Special Charge Scheme Final Cost Certificate.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move 1, Council adopts the final cost certificate for the Lloyd Street North Special Charge Street Construction Scheme, scheme number 1902, and 2, Council officers prepare the final apportionment amounts due for property owners for the Lloyd Street North Special Charge Construction Scheme, scheme number 1902, based on the total levy amount of $42,000.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Councillor Boggy.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Boggy. Is there any opposition to the adoption of those recommendations? If not, I'll declare them carried. Councillor Ripper.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. The estimated cost of the scheme was of $450,000. But the good news is the overall final cost of the scheme was $335,529.82, a decrease of $114,470.18. So that was 25.4% under the estimated cost. And $42,000 will be apportioned to the residents who live there. I think there's about maybe 7 or 8. I will stand corrected. I go up there every day, and it's a lovely area now. It's got a lovely wide path. It goes to the back of the local rec reserve. And I noticed that there's mothers with and fathers with pushers are able to now push take their children up that way rather than walk on the road. And also there are some residents live up there with their little gophers that are able to safely go on that area of footpath up beside the rec reserve, cross over, and now there's footpaths up Macmillan Street to take them up the street. So that's an excellent outcome. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Ripper. The next item is 14.3, is the revocation of an unused road licence, being the extension of Graham Road, Toongabbie.
I'm happy to move that, Mayor.
Please proceed, Councillor Marr.
I move that 1, pursuant to section 407(1) of the Land Act 1958, the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning be requested to revoke the unused road licence held over the government road abutting lots 8A and 9A of Plan of Subdivision 840677, as the road is required for public traffic. And 2, Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to write to the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning and the property owner to advise them of Council's decision in relation to this matter.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Do I have a seconder?
Happy to second.
I'll let you beat Councillor Crossley this time, Councillor Rossetti. Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No, I'll declare it carried. Councillor Marr.
Thanks, Mayor. Basically, a request from the landholder to relinquish the unused road licence has been received, and this is primarily because they've developed their property, creating 2 lots on the plan of subdivision. The process to relinquish requires council to resolve that the road is required for public traffic, and the attachment shows exactly the location of the unused road. It's important to note, however, that the road will not be included on Council's Register of Public Roads, and as such will not be maintained by Council. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much, Councillor Marr. Next item on the agenda is 15.1, is the approval of the draft Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan for the next 4 years, and to start community engagement.
I'm happy to move that again, Mayor, if I may.
Proceed.
I move that Council approves the draft Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, Healthy Wellington 2021 to 2025, as attached for release for public consultation for a 6-week period.
Thank you, Councillor Marr. Do I have a seconder for that recommendation?
Councillor Wood.
Councillor Wood. Thank you, Councillor Wood. Is there any opposition to the adoption of that recommendation? No. I'll declare that recommendation carried. Councillor Marr.
Thanks, Mayor. This is another great piece of work from the officers. The development of a municipal public health plan is a legislative requirement that aligns with the council plan and is required every 4 years. This plan, however, is incorporating the Wellington Early Years Plan, the youth strategy and the age-friendly strategy. However, it also outlines 4 priorities of importance, which are mental wellbeing, health and climate change, equality and active living. The plan also addresses challenges of the impacts on our local communities, and they have been considered, which include climate change, which is largely the impact of droughts, flood and the future sea level rise, economic shocks, which basically is the Hazelwood closure and the changes to our native timber industry. There's also limited housing options, which also includes the lack of affordable social housing within our shire, and changes to our health and community services, which impacts our disability and age sectors. The Healthy Wellington draft is now open for public exhibition and comment, and we certainly ask that everyone have a look at this document and please participate and provide information and your thoughts. A great place to visit and observe the document is the Your Wellington, Your Say, as well as our local Desailly Street office and the Yarram Hub when they're opened. So yes, we'll hope that everyone will be able to, who needs to look at a hard copy, will be able to do that in time. But I'd really like to send a big thank you to the staff who have worked hard on this. They have certainly engaged well with the community, and they've and it's been a rewarding process so far. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those comments, Councillor Marr. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is further gallery and online comments. Mr. Acting CEO.
Yeah, we do have one question, Mayor. I'll read that out if you're comfortable. So that's from Akana Bowers, and the question they've asked is, will Council's diversity and inclusion strategy that is under development include LGBTIQA plus communities? And if Council are comfortable, we'll prepare a response for the Mayor to that question and CC councillors in and get that out as quick as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Acting CEO. Excellent. Now, the next item is closed session. I understand there's no need to go into closed session this evening, so I'd just like to thank you all for your attendance, and I'll declare the meeting closed and wish you all the very best in our continued lockdown. Please stay safe. Thank you very much.